one of the treats of fall is all the fall foliage. I don't know if you like to take a drive to the countryside or on your way to work and enjoy how the leaves are changing colors. We're past that season. Now we're in the season of enjoying fall foliage on the ground. I lived for a decade in a subdivision where the trees were smaller than the houses, so it wasn't that big a deal. Now I live in a different kind of neighborhood. I'm up to 28 bags of leaves right now. My neighbors are being very gracious and sending some more my way. When I was a student at Purdue, that's when I accepted my call to ministry. And it was one of those seasons in my life where I felt closer to God. I experienced God more vibrantly than other times. In fact, my baptism would have been one of those times. So accepting my call to ministry was one of those times. And I remember walking to class and noticing creation in a different way. It was almost as if, as the breeze went through the leaves and the trees, I could sense God just walking with me every day. It was just amazing. Amazing how, when my relationship with God was more right, my experience of the world around me was more vibrant, more lavish, more luxurious, because my inside was so right. I think that's where Paul is in this letter. You know, in the New Testament, we have the Gospels, the books about Jesus' ministry. Then we have the book of Acts, about the life of the apostles and the early church. And then we have a series of epistles, which are letters that Paul wrote to various churches. And this one is to the church of Ephesus. And typically, Paul will write towards the beginning a thanksgiving, a prayer thanking God for those people. I think in part because he's just so excited they showed up. I mean, I've been there where on each Sunday I look out and I'm excited that you showed up. We don't pay you to come here. We actually ask you to give an offering. Oh, well, we're paying Tracy. We ask you to give an offering to show up, to help us all make this happen. When I did New Church Start in Indiana, we didn't even have a place this beautiful. We were meeting in a gymnasium, which was like a loud, vibrating box. I mean, it was terrible for acoustics. We had to set everything up every Sunday. We had to bring everything with us because we couldn't store anything there. And with all of that work, people still showed up. It was a thankful experience. Paul's even more extreme in that Christians are being murdered at this time. Oppression is rampant. They can't worship in public venues. They can't be open about their faith because it's dangerous to their life. And Paul is just so thankful that they have a taste of the faith to show up, that this hope has called them together. But for Paul, it's more than that, because if you remember Paul's life, he was one of those oppressors. And he had such a vibrant experience of Jesus Christ that it turned his life 180 degrees to being one of the best evangelists and advocates for the faith. He writes his thanksgiving to these people from that point of view. Thankful that they've shown up, thankful that they're coming about the table to celebrate this great hope, but encouraging them to experience it more deeply because he knows what that does for your life. That's what happened to him. He experienced the lavishness of God's love. Well, this is Thanksgiving. We're all planning on a lavish table on Thursday. In case you're interested, there are some options for you to make your meal a little more lavish if you want. If you're into hot dogs, there's a place in Vancouver that sells a $100 hot dog. They do top it with a little lobster and some Kobe beef. Supposedly this bratwurst has been infused with 100-year-old cognac. So you have to order a couple days in advance, but apparently it's amazing for $100. If that's not enough to make your table lavish, there's a place in New York that sells a $1,000 pizza. It's topped with four types of caviar and some lobster tail. My son thought that was not the best use of $1,000. And then if that's just not enough for your occasion to be lavish, there's a place in New Orleans that sells this dessert that is $3.9 million. It's mostly strawberries, but it does come with a 7-carat diamond. If you want to treat those in your life well, I see the orders going up. Sorry about that. The restaurant did say it was their worst selling dessert. So I think I can understand why. And you do have to order that one. No, that one you do not have to order in advance. I think it's all there waiting. You have to like a pink diamond though. They did say it was a pink diamond.
I guess I could deal with that.
You could. If someone wanted to offer that one, okay. We know lavish lifestyle through so much of our senses, right? I mean, we know it through our food, through lifestyle, through creation. That's one of the ways in which we know what it is to be lavish. Jesus understood this. Jesus often helped us understand how amazing God's love is through lavish living. We think back to the wedding in Cana when Jesus' mom kind of guilted him into making more wine so the party could go on. And then he kind of showed off by not making a couple of bottles, but he made 180 gallons of wine. That's lavish to keep a wedding reception going forward. There's also the feeding of the 5,000. It may feel like 5,000 at your dinner table on Thursday. Jesus actually had 5,000 guys plus the women and children to feed. He not only fed them so they were full, they had 12 baskets of leftovers. I'm not certain how many Ziplocs it takes to send that many leftovers home with 5,000 people. He knew about extravagance. Jesus understood the grace of God to be that extravagant and understood our way of experiencing it to be that tactile, that earthy. The table itself, when Jesus celebrated it the last time, he turns it on its head. Instead of the servants washing everyone's dusty feet as they walk there in their sandals, Jesus, the host, washed all their feet. Because that's how lavish, luxurious is God's love. It's simply amazing. In my experience at Purdue is experiencing creation is sort of this cornucopia of God walking with me. It was just amazing walking to class every day and experiencing that. Paul could have pointed almost anywhere in creation to give people this sense of God's amazing love for us. Last week we talked about how amazing we are as creatures, that you are the best long-distance runners on the planet. Well, some of us are. That our ancestors used that as a hunting technique to actually just run their prey until the prey couldn't run anymore because we are so good at long-distance running when we're hungry. I'm better when I'm hungry, I'm certain. So Paul could have pointed to so many places in creation for us to understand God's love. But Paul, instead, in the prayer, points back to God. He puts the priority so that Paul says, when you have a relationship with God that is so deep, you will find your experience of the world around you to be vibrant, to be full of abundance. Not that life will be perfect. Paul himself ends up finding that life is a bit rough. But even through those times, Paul could have pointed to creation. He could have pointed to community. He could have pointed to the way in which the faithful in Ephesus bonded together to lift each other up, and that would have been a wonderful example. How often do we lift that up? Stories of people doing miracles in each other's lives as a way to demonstrate God's love for all of us. But Paul keeps pushing us first back to knowing God first. That we focus on that relationship first. Then our experience of God in the world is more amazing. If our relationship with God is healthy, all our other relationships become more healthy. If we have our relationship with God be our first Thanksgiving, then all the other Thanksgivings that we offer are more meaningful in our life. Paul is so excited that people have the faith because he knows how amazing that faith can be in our lives, how much that can make not just the world right around us, but it can make us right. That's where we find ourselves our best. Paul gets to